Have you ever wondered what games you should keep or you should lose? Find out here at Purge.
Marvel United is the new CMON game put out that takes the Marvel universe and puts it on your board gaming table. So what do we get here? We get chibis, so that you're going to be kind of squashed down and look so cute, and it's going to be very attractive to kids. Why did I bring up kids? Because I think this is a family weight game. This is not something you're going to want to play necessarily with your board game buddies, although I think there is a way to do that. This is more of a family-oriented game. So kind of know that going in. And if you're going to play with your buddies, you can absolutely 100% do that. But just understand it's a lighter affair, at least with the core box. And that's all that I'm looking at today is the core box. I was able to get a retail version of this at Walmart, and that's what we're going to be discussing. All the expansions that are coming in my Kickstarter, we'll discuss that on this channel when it comes out. So what you're going to get is a family weight game that can be played with children. It could really be played with nearly anyone. It's mass market, once again, at Walmart. And it could be played with your gaming buddies as long as you kind of understand what you're going to get. In this box, if you're truly a gamer, you want to fiddle around with Ultron and Red Skull, but Taskmaster will be where the game is at. But just understand, it's a fairly simple game, and it may not be intended for people looking for that chunky experience, or maybe some of the CMON games you're used to getting with all of the stuff that comes with it. This is going to be a centered experience. Kind of reminds me of Cthulhu Death May Die in that regards, where it has like this grandiose thing that's going on, all these miniatures and stuff, but the core game itself is very simple. And I'm really kind of happy that CMON is going in that, because I love playing their games with my family, and it's a really good experience for us. So just kind of know that going in. First of all, lighter affair, more family-oriented, but I don't want that to turn you off. The chibis are the miniatures. They look cute. They're going to look great when they're... The quality of the components, the miniatures are really good. Some of the card quality isn't as good. It's mass market, $29.99 at Walmart. I think you get a lot of game for your $30. So I'm not going to... When you're comparing it to the price of the game, I feel like the components are very, very high. But... You know, some of us that are used to paying $100 for a core game, you're not going to get that kind of component quality. But the miniatures are still CMON. They're fantastic. They're marbles. They're chibi. They do all of that. So that package is very, very good. What about the game? So in this one, you're going to get 7 different heroes. So a lot of variability that you can play in. Each of them play very similar, but they do have their own twist that play differently. That's good. I can definitely tell the difference between the Hulk and Captain America when I'm playing, for example. Ant-Man is very different than what Black Widow can do. Even though 60-70% of what they're doing is all the same, it's the makeup and breakdown. So even though you can only move, punch, or heroic action, or the wild, the combination of how much like Hulk can punch a lot more and Captain America is doing a lot more of heroic action. So that kind of balances out. On top of that, you're going to have different little powers that each of them can do. You're going to have 3 villains that can be in the game. Each villain's going to play very differently. With Red Skull, you're going to have a fear track. With Ultron, almost like Pandemic, it's going to be filling up the board, and you got to kind of manage that. And then Taskmaster is really hard as he's putting these crisis tokens down on the board, and you got to clear those out. And every time I play with him, I barely get there to the ending. So for $29.99, you're getting a lot of variability in this game. 7 characters, you're going to have 8 different locations. You only use 6 in the game, so within 2 games, you're going to be using all of that. And that brings us to another point, is that the game really is about 30 minutes long. And once you have that variability, I mean, you can literally sit down and play everything in this box in a night if you wanted to. And quite frankly, I played everything in this box multiple times over a 2-day period. Super excited about this game, kept getting it to the table. Kids liked it, had some friends over. We immediately got to the table, we were trying all the different combinations. You can see it pretty quickly. I think that's where the expansion stuff's going to come in, but we're not here to talk about necessarily. We're talking about this box. I think that casual gamers going to have a lot of stuff to play through, and they're going to feel like there's a ton. Those of us that are used to getting the Kickstarter with the big box and the forklift brings it in and it takes us years to go through everything, we're going to feel a little limited with the core box, but we know the rest of the stuff is coming. So while there's a lot of variability due to the time length of the game, you're going to see it pretty quickly. So just kind of be aware of that. But it's Marvel, and if you're into Marvel and you like what you see here, it's going to be really fun to play and keep trying that over and over. There's a couple challenge modes that you can do. And really the challenge modes are just taking the wild cards out of your hand and kind of crippling you a little bit. But that's going to be kind of the aspect. I think once those wild cards come out, yes, the game will be harder. Good luck with Taskmaster. The game will be harder, but it will also be a little bit more strategic as you can't just have that wild card come up and kind of save you. So what do I think about the game? I really like it. I think it's a really fun experience. It's something that I would probably strictly play with the kids and the family. It has a solo mode, which I'm going to do a review of that soon, so I'm going to leave that to the side. But if you like the solo mode, I think the game is very easy to play. Either their intended solo mode, or you can play multiple characters fairly easily if you're more into that. I know some people hate that. I'll get into that more in my solo review. But as for the multiplayer experience, I think the game is really fun. It's not going to be a brain burner, although it can be. But if you're looking at like a pandemic level game, and you really want to play with the Marvel Universe and have a very solid game in front of you with different characters, and you get the different bad guys. And the different bad guys are really what changed the game up. You're going to want bad guys in this one more than the heroes. You're going to want that experience. For me, this is an absolute keeper. One I'm highly, highly going to recommend. At least check out, but understand it's a family weight game. 2 thumbs up for us. Here are the components for Marvel United. You can see a very striking box here. Has a list of all the components on the back, and I do like the artwork on the front. I will say that the quality of the box isn't the greatest and not what you would expect from a CMON game, but good for a mass market game. Here's a little thing you can download to free content. You're going to have a rule book, which we'll take a look at in a few. And then you have the different boards you have. These aren't the best quality, but they're not cardboard, but they just kind of sit down on the thing. It's fine. Now these very colorful tiles and chits, these are fine. Very good quality, and you can see the difference in them very easily. And this one, you're going to get 3 bad guys. You're going to get Ultron, Red Skull, and Taskmaster. So each of them will work a little bit differently and give you a different experience. This would be the villain dashboard. Once again, not the best quality, but it just kind of sits on the board anyway. Then you're going to have this semi-custom insert, or I guess it is custom. It says Marvel United on it. And then you're going to have these chits. I found these to be a little bit more generic. Quality is fine, but, you know, a civilian is just a face with no face, a head. These are a little bit more generic than the other ones. You're going to have these 3 cards. These will be what you're trying to accomplish during it. These are fairly thin. And if for some reason they gave you these cards, maybe they could print some extras, but these are the different challenges. You just kind of read them. The quality of these are okay at best. Each villain is going to come with his own deck of cards and then some threat cards that they have. And of course, in this one, you have the 3 villains. When you flip them over, some of them don't have any artwork, which is fine because you really don't need it. You just kind of need, now you're going to have these minions or henchmen that will show up, as you want to call them, and they'll be on these. You can see each of these will do differently. A little thinner than I like. You're probably going to want to sleeve, if not these, you'll definitely want to probably sleeve these up. These are going to be the cards you have. So you're going to have Venom, this is the Walmart exclusive, Captain Marvel, the Hulk, Ant-Man, Black Widow, Iron Man, and the best for last, Captain America. And then you can see that you're going to have different artwork on these cards, which is nice. It didn't repeat the artwork. And really the only thing that matters are these icons in the game. But you can see that all the artwork is a little bit different, and each one has a different icon on it. And see, Ant-Man's upside down. You can kind of see some of the artwork on this. And I'm going to do a video later on talking about the difference in the characters, but you can kind of see the artwork does not repeat. And then the main star of the game are going to be these miniatures. I'll show you each one. Here is Venom. You can see that he's probably the one that would probably break the easiest with little kids. These little things can be pulled off rather easily. But that is the Walmart exclusive from my understanding. Now all the bad guys are going to be in red. You can paint these up or leave it this way. This is Red Skull. And then Taskmaster, who was supposed to be I think in the new Black Widow movie. That's probably why he's included here. But he got pushed back due to the pandemic that's going on. But you can kind of see him. And then you're going to have Ultron here from the Avengers sequel, or the comics, if you will. These are all chibis, so a little bit shorter and fatter. This is the one everybody likes because he's on the quarter, the Ant-Man, so he's supposed to be really small. And then Black Widow has a great action shot here, actually, with her hair going through here. It looks really nice. You can see determination on her face. Here is Iron Man. You can see that the terrain is all down here. You can paint that up to make it look really cool. But that's Iron Man kind of going through. I probably would have preferred an Iron Man that was flying. He's kind of up there, which is kind of neat. Here's Captain America more in a pose than in fighting style. Maybe he's waiting for a fight to come. You can see his shield there. It does have the star on it. Lots of detail here. These miniatures are fantastic. I like these quite a bit. The Hulk is a little bit thicker than the other ones, but a little bit muscular as he should be. Still in chibi format though. But he looks really cool. And finally, we're going to have Captain Marvel herself. You can see the Mohawk flame there. And she's kind of flying too, a little bit with this coming down through there. So she has a very unique look also. So here's the rulebook. You're going to have artwork straight from the front of the box. And then you're going to have like an overview here. And you're going to have the contents. So everything here is going to be listed with a picture, which is fantastic. Setup, picture, explanations of where things go. Excellent. And a little bit over here, winning and losing, right here listed out. And they're going to go into a villain turn who will go first with pictures and examples, etc. Fantastic. You're going to have a hero turn over here. What all the icons do, and then a turn sequence of kind of how that goes. Explains a few things you're going to need to know. Damage and challenges, and then a few additional rules. You're going to have some solo rules right here, and then your credits. I found this rule book, this is a mass market game. Rule summary on the back. I found this rulebook to be very good. Once we were up and playing, I didn't have a lot of questions. Maybe one or two very specific questions, but everything I needed was in this book. Excellent. This might be the best rulebook CMON's put out, but in all fairness, this is a very simple game. So to set up the game is pretty easy. You're going to take 6 locations. There are 8 total, so 2 will not be used. You'll just set these aside. You can put the bad guy, whoever you choose, on a location randomly, and then they'll be on an opposite location. You'll take the threat cards and shuffle these up and put one randomly on each location. You will also take the bad guys, the villains, and shuffle that up, and each player will get their own deck shuffled up and draw 3 cards, which will be their starting hand. You also put out the 3 objectives to clear the threats, defeat the thugs, civilians. These can go out randomly, doesn't really matter. And then you'll put out these civilians and thugs out based on which location you use. They're printed on there. After you do that, you have this out. You have his health based on the number of players, and you are ready to go. You also have these challenges. If you want to make it harder, you could pick one of these. It'll tell you each player removes a wild from their hero deck, or remove all of the wilds if you want to make it harder. This right here is just a recommended easy setup with the easy villain, and you're ready to go. Very easy. You take the first card off this deck, and you will do what it says. In this regard, you will move the villain 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3, in clockwise order. He will then, if it has like this bullseye on it, he will then activate this. Discard all thugs and civilians from this location and advance to fear track with a number of tokens. So this has 2 tokens on it. So I will discard these. When you discard, they do not go on these cards. They get set aside. Then you will take the cube and you'll move it up 2 on the fear track as that card said. Then, this is the location he is at. It tells me I will add 2 civilians to his location. Just like that. 1 before and 1 after. So I will put those out on the board. And then you will have done what he has wanted to do. You can set this aside in the story row. I'm just going to put it down here so you can see it. And then the next player will go. Let's say Captain America wants to be first. He has his 3 cards. Then he will play a card down. So let's say he wants to play this card. He will move 1 location and then punch. So he can move. Let's say I'm gonna do this. I'm just gonna move. So he's just gonna move 1 location. So he can move in either way he wants, and he will put that down. So now it is Hulk's turn. Hulk has his 3 cards in his hand. He draws 1 at the beginning, so he always has 4 cards, and then he can play whatever he wants. So he might have something special. Deal 1 damage to everything else in this location. Discard all of the civilians, and then he can move. So you have these different icons. Heroic icons will let you either save a civilian. You get to take them off and put them here. Or you can start fulfilling this. If you get 3 of this, you will fulfill this threat. It will go away, and then this will come over here. Now, if you ever to finish one of these, then this will come off. These will always slide down. And now the villain will react after 2 cards instead of 3. If you get the next one off, you can now start fighting the villain. So let's talk about that a little bit. So Captain America moved a little bit on his turn. Let's say Hulk's going to play this with his 2 wild cards. So he will get to activate the card before him, which is a move. So let's say he wants to move up here. And then he has 2 wild cards. He can do whatever he wants. He could put one of these out he could save both of these civilians. So let's say he does that. If the card happened to be here and you hadn't yet accomplished it, then you would put these civilians on it, hoping to fulfill that. If it was already fulfilled, it would just come off and nothing really would happen. Then it would be Venom's turn, so he has his 3 cards plus the one he drew. And just to kind of drive this home, he can play a card. Now he would activate Hulk's card, just the bottom icons, the 2 wilds, and his own move and punch. So let's say he wanted to move twice. He can move once on his card. One of the wilds could be a move. He could punch one of these guys to get rid of them. He could also punch this guy if he wanted to. And because he's Bob the Hydra, he would have 4 health. That would have been on his card. So he would take one of these off of that. So those are kind of things that you can do. You can move. You can get rid of the thugs with a punch. You can punch one of these guys here. You can use the heroic action, and you can get rid of a civilian. Or if you're at a location with one of these with a star on it, you can put one of those stars down. Or you have the wild cards that you can do. So those are kind of the options that you're going to have. 4 possible things you can do. To complicate things a little bit matter, these cards might have things on them. Heroes starting their turn in the location take a crisis token. If you're able to accomplish these, it may give you something good. You may draw cards until you have 3. If you accomplish this one, you can move up to 2 civilians or thugs in any combination from this location to any other location. So those are things that you can do. Now, as these cards come out, there are different things that the bad guy will happen. And so he can move around the board. You can see 0, 4. Sometimes he stays put. Sometimes he has a sentence. For each crisis tokens, heroes advance the fear track by 1. He will put out more of the civilians. He will put out more of the thugs. But he also has these BAMs that will happen. So when a BAM happens, he will have something up here that will say BAM, and each of the bad guys will deal 1 damage to each hero in Red Skull's location, increase the fear track. Now the player's going to lose with every bad guy's going to have a different ending scenario, but in this one you will lose if you get to the 20. You will always lose if they play all of their cards, or if as a person doesn't have any more cards to play. Not to draw, but doesn't have any more to play. And then you have an overflow. So just like Pandemic, if this ever fills up and you can't put something here, then each bad guy will have an overflow. So if a civilian or a thug can't be added, then you would increase the fear tracker. Once again, it's kind of his main mechanism about how he is going to work. And players will continue to do that until they either destroy Red Skull. Now, once you've accomplished 2 of these, you can see here the villain is now able to be damaged. So now you can go there to his location, and you can use these punches to start whittling down his health as you're going through. And that's kind of how you play Marvel United. It's a very, very simple game. You're really just playing the card, utilizing your icons, and then the card played after it will get to use both sets of icons. So that's kind of how it works. It does reward cooperative play. It does reward teamwork. So you can kind of set up some big turns for each other with the discussions of what you're doing. Who should buy this game? This is going to be for Marvel fans. If you're a Marvel fan, then this game is going to be for you. Absolutely. It's going to have all the chrome, the miniatures. It looks really cool. Your family's going to get into it. I think this game's going to weigh more for family than it is going to be for gamers. I think there's a Pandemic level game. If you like Pandemic, you like that level of game, then I think this is going to work for you. Now, the Marvel theme, it fits really well. I think what you're doing makes a lot of sense, and you can totally get into it. It could have had other themes too. It definitely 100% could have had other themes, and it would have worked just as well. So I think that's fine, although I don't think it's going to be a slave to the theme either, but it works great. Kids are going to like this one. Families are going to like this one. I think even gamers who don't mind a little bit of a lighter experience is going to enjoy this one. If you're used to playing Food Chain Magnet and you want that level of thing, this isn't going to be for you. It's not intended to be, but this is going to be a huge hit. Marvel United has been a lot of fun. It needs more stuff. It's coming. So I'd be a little harder on it if it was just going to be this. I know more stuff is coming. With these kind of miniature games, it's like the variability comes from more, and we need more, and we're going to get it hot in this box, though. Highly recommended. We've had a lot of fun with this. Marvel United is a big hit in my family.